Hi there, my name is Tom Bell and welcome to my 5 Minute Friday videocast on the 4th of April. Last week I put on a political post, I guess you'd call it political, maybe everything is political after all, which seemed to get a reaction, and it was a fascinating reaction, I have to say. Who am I? Well, I'm an author, I'm a consultant, I'm an educator, I'm a speaker and a trainer, and normally I focus my attention on issues around health and care. I very much come from that school, if you like, the Ruskin school of that. There's the next door's cat. There is no wealth but life. Yeah, that is. I know that's a really easy thing for a wealthy person like Ruskin to have said. There is no wealth but life, but actually, I think he kind of nailed it. Life isn't about GDP. It's not about wealth. It's not about the things we have and don't have. Life itself is a wealth. However, of course, we live in a society which doesn't let everybody live to their full potential. So, a friend of mine, an old friend actually, lent me a book because I'm going to build on last week's post. And they lent me this book. It's called, let me just hold that up, Burning Down the House. And it's about punks in East Berlin before East Berlin became liberated, if we call it that, yeah. And one of the little phrases that leapt out at me from the introduction pages is they're talking about how culture spreads, how information spreads. And back in the day, before the internet, yeah, that's right, we haven't always had the internet. My generation, we used to listen to the radio. We used to record songs off the radio on cassettes. And this guy's talking about how culture spread across into most of East Germany via the radio, be it the official radio stations in the West or the pirate radio stations that were deliberately broadcasting. And there's a brilliant observation which is made here. Let me read this out to you. It said, Western radio wafted easily over, allowing Western pop music to reach almost all parts of East Germany, with the exception of the low area around Dresden, an area known to East Germans as, let's get the pronunciation semi-right, Tal der Ungeschlossen, or Valley of the Clueless. Absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Valley of the Clueless. In the absence of information, and I think there's a message there, isn't there? It's a really obvious message, I guess, that there's a pocket of people who, because they aren't exposed to something that everyone else is exposed to, are labelled as clueless. Sometimes it's a choice what we expose ourselves to. Sometimes it's accidental. Sometimes it's just a product of who we are and the lives we lead, the channels that we choose to engage with, the people that we choose to have around us, and the types of conversations that we choose to have. But I thought that was fascinating because what you've got there is you've got this repressive regime in East Germany. And then you've got this sound wafting over. You've got information wafting over, as it's described, to people. And those who wanted to listen to it, not everybody wanted to listen to it, by the way. Not everybody wanted to expose themselves to the sounds and the noise that was coming through other people's radios and coming from outside of East Germany. But those that did were changed by it. So those that stepped outside what was widely perceived as the norm of accepted behaviour, the norm of accepted communications consumption behaviour, those people started to form different beliefs and then started to look at the people who didn't have those beliefs and call them clueless, perhaps slightly harshly. But it fits in very nicely with another book that I'm reading at the moment, which is called Agnotology. Agnotology, and I was ignorant of this before I started reading it, is the study of ignorance. It's the study of the making and unmaking of ignorance. An absolutely fascinating book. And it reminds me, as I read through it, and you can see all the little markers I've got in there, there's a lovely phrase by, I think it was Mark Twain, and he said, it's not the things we think we know, it's the things we think we know that just ain't so. Those are the problems, yeah? And what he's saying is it's the assumptions we make. It's the things that we think we're certain of. Those cause the problems, don't they? And when I put the post up last week, I got lots of responses from people, and everyone had an answer. Everyone had a quick answer to what is an incredibly complex set of problems. And that's the world we live in, isn't it? It's the world of the mass media. It's the world of people saying, there's the solution. We've just got to stop them coming over on boats. We've just got to tax them more. We've got to stop paying for this. We've got to stop paying for that. And everybody's got a dead simple solution to what are incredibly complex, globally interlinked, interrelated problems. I think the sexy phrase is wicked problems, isn't it? That's how people talk about these things. And I guess there's once you realise how ignorant you are, and I include myself in that, by the way, absolutely include myself, there's a degree of humility that I think that starts to come into your conversations where you're prepared to say, I don't know. And I think it's something interesting that the only politician I've ever heard talk in these terms is a guy called Rory Stewart when he was our local MP here. And Rory used to talk about this lack of willingness amongst MPs to say, I don't know, or I'm not certain, or I can't predict the outcome of this. But we're not like that, are we? I don't know how that has happened. I don't know whether it's our desire for certainty or it's lazy thinking where we just want to be led into simple solutions. But we don't know. We don't have the answers. What we can't do, though, but what many people seem to want to do, is stop having the discussions and not display the humility that we all need to display to each other. And I include myself as somebody that oversteps the mark sometimes. I think I called somebody an imbecile on social media last week. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. But we have to have a bit of humility here, haven't we? And have those open conversations where we're actually getting underneath the skin of the issues rather than just thinking we know what's to be known and then applying our paradigms to the universe. Once again, I have exceeded my 5 minutes. Excuse me for that. On that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Try and have a good weekend. If you're in the UK, I think the weather's going to be great. So, as ever, stay safe, stay solvent, and stay sane. I'm never sure which order to say those in, whether it's sane or solvent, because I think they're both a bit of a challenge at the moment, aren't they? But on that note, have a good weekend. Ciao.